This is Matt Staggs with Savudu.com. It's San Diego Comic Con 2014. I'm here with Lev Grossman. He's the author of The Magicians, and he writes online in several places, including Time. Lev, thanks so much for joining us.
It's good to be here.
I know that you are not just a professional writer. You're like the rest of us. You're a fan. So you're here probably, and you're seeing a lot of things that you're excited about. Could you tell me about them?
Yeah. Let's see. Anything Adventure Time is big for me. I watch that show with my daughter. I frequently watch it without my daughter. It's become just a really intense... It's my favorite show on TV. It's an intense thing for me, and there's a lot of stuff here. So that's a lot of fun. And then, there's a lot of great writers here. George R. Martin is everywhere at the show. Joe Abercrombie, I talked to yesterday, mere feet from where we are standing. I'm a sick Joe Abercrombie fan, and I'd seen him like from afar, but I'd never met him before.
Well, this is a great opportunity, I guess, to talk shop with writers. And I wondered, how do you divide the line between I'm talking to you as a colleague and let's talk shop and look, I'm a huge fan of yours? Or is there such a line?
It's I try to be professional about it. Other people seem so professional. Maybe it's just because no one is excited about meeting me. But I lose my shit just like anybody else. I met Larry Niven last year at Dragon Con. I choked it, man. I feel like I've been waiting my whole life for that moment. Maybe it will come again. But I didn't bring it in for a landing.
It happens to all of us time and again. I've certainly met people before and had that choke-up moment. But what would you tell somebody that was a fan of yours or that comes up to you and talk? Would you want to remind them of how to talk to people like you and not to choke up?
We're just like any other wild, feral rodent. We are more frightened of you than you are of us. So we can we can empathize with each other and share the awkwardness while still, going forward and giving it a shot. It's actually really good for me to meet readers. I really enjoy it. It rarely happens. Writing novels is like you spend a couple years in a room, then you come out for a month and meet everybody, and you go back in. It's really good to meet people who love your work and are emotionally invested in it and want you to keep going. It feels good. You store it up for those long winters when you're actually just cloistered in your study.
I've tried to describe your books before, and Harry Potter's adults, for adults is one thing. Actually, Harry Potter as adults is another. I think there's sort of a hip New York kind of vibe to it that doesn't necessarily, I don't necessarily see in a lot of other things, and it's just sort of indescribable. I'm hoping you might be able to do that better than I could.
I'm worse at it than you would think, even after a lot of practice. And supposedly working with words is a thing that I do professionally. But I'm not great at it. Harry Potter for adults is not a million miles away. I often think of, you get to the end of Deathly Hallows, and Harry graduates, and he's going out into the world, and there's no Dumbledore anymore to tell him what to do. There's no Voldemort out there anymore who he can do battle with. What does he do with himself? What is his magic for now? And he's obviously going to have to kind of discover that for himself. And we know that he does, because then you get the epilogue. But what happens in that blank space in between? What happens to a magician in his 20s? I think The Magicians is my attempt to answer that. I had a disastrous 20s, and I feel like I'm still processing the spectacular failure of that entire decade for me.
I think a lot of people feel that way, and you would have had a minor in thaumaturgy, right? Is that what you studied?
Yeah, you'd think, that would be the big money, but there's no cash in it anymore. Yeah.
So where are we with the series right now? It's ended, or are we going to see more? Where third books come out?
The third book is, they're actually selling it here at Comic-Con, which was a surprise. It's not officially out until August 5th. That's the end of Magician's books. They're going on to an afterlife on TV, on Sci-Fi. But meanwhile, I'm doing something totally different.
Can you tell us a little bit about it? Can you just give us a hint or anything at all?
I shouldn't. I haven't even talked to my agent about it.
Well, don't get in any trouble.
It's not fantasy. But it's not reality either. There's definitely impossible things happening. It's present day, not a far future thing. It's the present day, but just made more interesting by some things that are physically impossible.
Well, do you have any tips for people looking to make a living writing like you're doing? You make a living across the board with the written word, whether it's online or it's nonfiction or fiction. How did you get there, and how would you advise other people to get there is a better question.
Neil Gaiman says this, and it's worth repeating. Well, it seems hard to break into writing until you talk to editors and you realize how desperate they are for people who can turn in copy on time, have it be basically clean. There's no third finger there. If you can meet deadlines and turn in copy that makes sense, that you've gone over and polished a couple times, not many people can do that.
Sounds like to me you have more of a workman-like attitude to this rather than an artiste perspective, I guess is the best way to put it.
It's definitely not an artiste's business. It's you're making things just like anybody else with very crude tools, namely your fingers and words.
Where can we find you online?
I'm at levgrossman.com. I'm on Twitter way too much of the time at Leverus, rhymes with Severus. And even occasionally on Facebook. Friend me. I'm very promiscuous on Facebook. So go ahead.
Well, thank you very much.